Welcome to the Sack of Stats podcast. Pam Maldonado, joined by my girl Kelly in Vegas, bringing you Week 15 NFL contest picks. Kelly, my girl, it seems like we have found a new strategy. Disagree, and we tend to roll. Last week we had 4-1. We're 7-3 in the last two. Really and truthfully, honestly, not having had anything in agreement. What do you think is going on with our latest strategy for so far?
It's kind of crazy because I have a partner. I have my own entry, and then I have a partner in one contest and a partner in another, and then obviously you and I are in both. And the other two partners, one went 1-5, one went 4-1. I went 4-1. You and I went 4-1. I think it was finally. I'm just finally having a good NFL season because I can say this with absolute certainty. My NFL season has been horrific, and then there was that like 3 week stretch where I couldn't pick my nose. I was lucky to go 1-2 every single week. And now I think things are starting to turn. So maybe not only the tide is turning for me, but the tide is turning for us as a collective. But yes, I would agree with you, Pam. When we tend to disagree and we cancel out a lot of games, it works well. I had a conversation this morning with Ariel Epstein because she and I do a lot of prop stuff together. And she goes, I hate when we agree. And I go, you sound like Pam. Like Pam also hates when we agree.
One, because it's so rare that it happens, and then when it actually does, it's like, "All right, we're wrong." Like, it's not it doesn't work out in our favor hardly ever. So what we have going seems to be working out. Let's ride the trend again. This is, like, the second time of the season and, like, actually the last few seasons where I have not asked you what your best bet is. I'm coming into this entirely blind. I've been doing NFL since all morning. I've been up since 3:30 like an old person that I am. So I don't even know if I myself have a best bet. I actually really love this week. So I'm having trouble narrowing it down. Maybe through our conversation, that's going to help me out a bit. What do you feel about week 15 with so many backups, all the injuries, playoff contentions in here in the mix? What do you think of this week?
So we usually film this show on Thursdays. Sometimes we have to do Fridays, and then we've even had to squeeze in a Wednesday night. But so sometimes comes Saturday, Sunday, I love a lot more, which is what happened last week. This week, I
Mhm.
don't love a lot, but there's a lot that I like. Starting off
Right.
with the New England Patriots. I know all of a sudden they look good on Thursday night, and the Chiefs look terrible once again. So I should be looking to buy low on the Chiefs. And while I think that Chiefs are a great teaser spot this week, I don't see them blowing out teams. They have not done that very often this season. I know that there's been a couple of anomalies, most notably against the Raiders. But this Patriots defense is worth backing almost every single week. And that's why the sharp guys have, even though it hasn't equated to wins up until last Thursday. I think Bailey Zappi is going to be ultimately better than Mac Jones. I was at one of these games last year and people were chanting for Bailey Zappi. I don't know what took an entire year for this to come to fruition. But it's like all of these guys are hurt, right? Like Devontae Parker is hurt, Ramondre Stevenson is hurt. Hunter Henry should be getting lots more reps. We'll see. He had two touchdowns last week. But Zeke Elliott, man, he has really finally started to open up this offense, getting the running game going. The Chiefs, on the other hand, for lack of better words, they're a shell of their former selves. I know a lot of people thought, oh, when Tyreek's gone, they're going to plug and play right in. And sure they did. They went out and won a Super Bowl. But now it would appear that the wheels are falling off, Pam, and I can't think of anything else. That outburst by Patrick Mahomes, that press conference with Andy Reid seemed a little what's the right word? I'm going to try not to piss off Chiefs fans, but I'm going to call it pretentious, okay? I thought that if they rewatched the tape and then still ultimately thought that he wasn't offsides, which he was by at least a
Mhm.
yard, if not a yard and a half, then maybe the world wouldn't think you guys are a bunch of a-holes. How about that? But now when you're standing back looking at it, you're going, why are they behaving this way? Well, when sometimes you're the New England Patriots and you can't touch the quarterback and all the calls start to go your way, and then they don't, that's kind of the result. So I took to Patriots +9. So this one is been on the move. As I mentioned, I also came back and I teased the Chiefs last night at 2.5. So nice. We'll call it a 6.5 point middle there. And I think it's going to keep getting lower here. I wouldn't be surprised to see more money coming in on the Patriots here, people playing against the Chiefs and on the Patriots defense.
Well, I really like that play. It's one of the I think I'm similar to you this week where maybe there's not a lot that I love, but there is a lot that I like. And the Patriots +8 is definitely one of those because, yes, you're talking about the Chiefs being like a former shell of themselves, but it's actually Mahomes too. And you can talk about all the dropped passes and his lack of receiving core. It is a very young group. And because of that, Mahomes' stats are now like the worst that we've seen of his career. He's averaging 6.2 YPA. That's 27th in the league. He has 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, all of this since week 8. Since week 8, he is 23rd in the NFL in passer rating. Guess who that's ahead of? Literally only one quarterback in Zach Wilson. Like how far he has dropped in that passing game. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who got paid how many bajillions of dollars, and you're doing better only than Zach Wilson. This is a really this is an offense that is severely dropped down. And at least because of this lack of efficiency that we're seeing from the Chiefs offense, well, now you're going up against the Patriots, who's kind of, yeah, you can talk about Bailey and how well he did in his last game. But consistently, what we've had is at least the Patriots have a defense. So because of that, now it's just like a clash of you still kind of stink. Now you're going up against a defense that's maybe finding some life with that offense, but at least has a defense to contend. I like your pick. Obviously, that's plugged in. And now, just as a reminder of what it is that we're doing, it's 5 against the spread, contest picks in the NFL. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet. Automatically in is my best bet, which honestly, I don't really have one at the moment. So let's just run down some of the list of what the games that I do like and let's talk about them. Tell me this is not kind of like an obvious. It may or may not be an obvious, but Bengals -3 to the Vikings. Uh, First off, do you agree with a side on that?
I want nothing to do with this game. I could not figure it out to save my life. Minnesota, we're talking about an offense. Holy cow. What in the world was that, Josh Dobbs? It was just really frustrating. You would have thought, we spoke about this, Justin Jefferson, everybody's so anticipated for his return, and the offense got worse. Man, I don't know, man. Jake Browning has put up a ton of points. As you mentioned, you do lean towards the Bengals, or you do like the Bengals here. 31, 34 points. I I lean towards the Bengals just because of recency bias, but I can't figure this one out at all.
I think it's important for me to kind of lean heavily into this. This may be my best bet because I rarely like favorites. So the fact that I like one, I'm like, okay, this is interesting for me. But it is more a lot about Jake Browning, yes. I mean, what he's been doing in the last few weeks has been I talked about him having a floor. Well, now he is providing a ceiling. What we're seeing from him is he is getting the ball out quickly and efficiently, and it's because they're doing a lot more traditional play action passes. Whereas when they had Joe Burrow, he had a lot of shotgun formation. So they've had to really transform what this offense looks like for the Bengals, and it's really been accommodating to that of Browning. He has 9.8 YPA since he started. That's second behind only Brock Purdy, MVP Brock Purdy, who everybody seems to love. However, a lot of his passes are behind the line of scrimmage, but at least that gives you that the floor is built with a lot of ups. Another offensive change that I do like is that they have a newfound screen game. They have one running back screen in the first 6 games. In the last week against Indianapolis, they had 6 in that one game alone. That's pretty significant because now we're starting to see Joe Mixon really thrive as a pass catcher. And the storyline of the week that you're going to see is Vikings have a really good defense against the run. Yeah, but they're actually really vulnerable against the pass. So now Joe Mexican, did I just say that? Joe Mixon doesn't have to be utilized in that run game because now he can open up his usage in the passing game. And once he moves into that open space, he has been a problem. He has 44 plus receiving yards with Browning behind quarterback behind center. So Minnesota's defense, strong against the run, vulnerable against the pass, and that's exactly where this Bengals team is thriving right now. I think I just convinced myself into making this my best bet.
And I'm okay with that. Nick Mullins will be the starting quarterback. I just had to Google that. I had forgot that was in my early notes to check during the week. And of course, I woke up and it's Thursday and I'm going, oh crap, I don't know who the starting quarterback is. So it will be Nick Mullins. And it looks like Justin Jefferson is questionable once again. So keep
But
an eye
even if he
there.
does play, he got re-injured in the last game. So it's like, how
I know.
effective can you really be? And I talked about him last week about just his presence alone can make things difficult. But when your quarterbacks, like, it's just convincing. Like, when your quarterbacks are either Dobbs or Mullins, hey, Mullins was the better quarterback of the two. He had 83 passing yards. It's a very low bar.
I agree. I mean, look, ride the hot hand right now with the Bengals. I don't hate that at all.
All right, let's go ahead and plug that in because I like a lot of games and I think I like that one most. So we'll roll with that. Unless I change my mind sometimes during this. But let's just like run down through the list because that seemed to have worked for us last in the last few weeks where we just go down game by game in order. Steelers, Colts. Opinion?
No, no big opinion here, Pam. Let's talk about it. Steelers get embarrassed on Thursday night. Mike Tomlin loses a game back to back, which he never does, right? That's what they tell you anyway. Look, the Steelers, for some reason, lose the games that they're not supposed to lose and then win the games they're not supposed to win. I can't figure out this Colts team, right? Like Mitch Trubisky, Pittsburgh's defense aside, Gardner Minshew is thriving in this Colts uniform up until last week. And the wheels fell off against Jake Browning and the Bengals, which we just spoke about. I I tend to avoid teams that I've done bad at betting on or betting against just by default. So I looked at this game, thought it was really weird. Okay, we've got an AFC matchup between two teams that really need to get into the wild card, right? They're both 7-6. So this game is important, but that doesn't help me out in my handicap. So ultimately, I just said, I'm going to pass here.
I lean to the Colts. I agree that maybe we should probably just pass on this because what we know from from Indianapolis, they're 10-3 to the team total over. That's the most in the league. So this tells me that at 42, this potentially could be a higher scoring affair, at least from the Colts end. So now I'm asking myself, do the Steelers have a quarterback that can go pass for pass, touchdown for touchdown if this
Ugh.
turns into like some type of shootout? And Mitch Trubisky, at least in his first start, he was pretty serviceable. He had 63% completion, 5.5 YPA, but he does have that bit of a mobility. He had 30 rushing yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, I would say that yes, maybe. But I mean, Pittsburgh's defense, this is typically why we want to back Pittsburgh is because of that defense. And they're struggling in back to back weeks against Arizona and New England. TJ Watt was cleared for concussion protocol, but Alex Highsmith, he wasn't. And he's second on the team in sacks. So not having him is really going to take the pressure off of Gardner Minshew. And at least we know from him, he's either going to bomb it and he's like a boomer bust player. Like he is so highly inconsistent. He has some great plays and then he can have a few awful ones. But I would lean to the Colts here getting this one. So if you
And I
don't
can't
have a
trust
really
the Colts
strong
at home. I just looked it up. I was like, why can't I trust this Colts team? What did I have written down? Literally wrote in my notes, cannot trust this team. It's because they're 2-4 at home. They don't win games at home. And guess how many times I bet them at home this year? 3 times. No wonder I don't trust
I feel
them.
like I'm very familiar.
Yeah, I started off the season with the Colts being my best bet week 1 and well, Gardner Minshew couldn't get it done for me, but he sure is trying to get it done now. So, I agree. I think we pass here.
How about the Cowboys and the Bills? You were high on the Cowboys last week. That came to be easy. Opinion.
Yeah, I love the Bills. I was Bills was went between Cowboys and Bills last week as my best bet. They both got the cash for me. Broncos, we'll get to them here in a minute, but they did get the cash for me as well. Dallas has been great at home, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to back them at home against a divisional opponent in which maybe they should have won on the road. We also touched on how good their scoring defense was. We knew how good their offense was starting to click. But there is something different with this Bills team, and they are highly moving up my power ratings week to week. And it's because they are finally playing to the level we expected them to. When they were 6-6 and on the outside looking in, everybody wanted to write them off. I've seen other people just bash Josh Allen. So I kind of had my own Josh Allen take of myself. And I said, he reminds me of Brett Favre, who is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Josh Allen is probably going to win a Super Bowl sometime in his career. I will say the one thing that benefits the Cowboys here is it is not going to be crappy. I love crappy weather Buffalo games
Mm.
for teams like Dallas that play indoors and aren't used to that kind of stuff. It looks like it's going to be really nice. We'll see if I actually get to the window with Buffalo in this game. I have not bet them yet. They opened 2. I wanted to bet them, sitting there at 2.5. I don't think this gets to 3. I could see Dallas, who tends to keep even their losses close, possibly backdoor this one and cover the teaser on the back end. So I did put Cowboys already in a teaser while that was still available. Again, I like this Buffalo team. I think what we're starting to see is coming to fruition from them. But Pam, I just have a thought here in can we trust this team to win simultaneous games, right? I told you I loved Buffalo in the very similar situation. Line was almost the same against the offensive powerhouse that who was the Miami Dolphins. And that was
Right.
my best bet that week. And it was that easy. I have a hunch this game could be very similar. Again, the Bills got some really nice bounces against the Chiefs. There that one call was correct, but there was probably some other ones that went their way as well. I again, big Josh Allen fan, but I need this team to average more points per game. They're only averaging 23 points per game, and that is going to be tough to beat this Cowboys team, who, as I said, is number one in scoring offense as of right now. We'll see kind of how this one goes. I think the Bills scare me. They might be getting a little too much love after last week. But on the flip side, I think everybody's going to want to bet the Cowboys here.
I'm one of those people. We're opposite, which means we're going to go ahead and scrap this off the list. But I mean, the only case that I can make for the Cowboys is Buffalo's offense. You have Josh Allen, absolute gunslinger. Can he take care of the ball? If there was ever a game where he needs to take care of the ball, it is this one where Dallas, he has 9 straight games with an interception. The record for the most consecutive games with an interception is 12. He's reaching that point. Even though Allen is the least sacked quarterback, they're still turning the ball over at the highest rate. That's just absolutely insane to me, which means it is he himself who's making boneheaded decisions. If he can stop some of those scripting passes, and he needs to really like stop with his switch his eyes, switch his feet, so he can have some of the defenses jump off routes. Like, he's kind of becoming so methodical with his stuff. He's giving away his plays where he's going. He needs to stop with that. If he can, then maybe he's going to not throw an interception here. But the problem is, Allen is now going up against a Dallas defense that has Dan Quinn as their defensive coordinator. He's an absolute beast himself. I mean, there's a reason why Dallas leads in takeaways and interceptions, going up against Allen, who leads in interceptions since
Yep.
2021. Dallas is first in pressure rate, fourth in sack rate. If there is ever a team that can startle and throw off Allen with his running ability, with his making, forcing him into making mistakes, it would be a Dallas defense. Cornerback Deron Bland, you can't ever count on him to have another interception touchdown. He has 5 already on the season for a record, but he does have 8 interceptions this season. So this is already like his player props are going to be stupid for Allen throwing an interception. It really
Well,
is
they have
comes
been
down to like
stupid.
that.
I mean, it's almost been automatic. If you put in your, your same game parlays or your player prop lineups, they like to call them. If you put it in there and you just add Josh Allen automatically, he's throwing an interception every single game. It's
Now it
almost
doesn't mean
automatic.
Now, it doesn't mean that he can't have a good game, find a win, even having an interception. We've seen it, but this is why if you look at the Bills' record, win, loss, win, loss, there's so much volatility behind that. And the problem is, does that interception come on a game-winning touchdown in the end zone? Does it come on like a fourth and goal situation? Like, it's not a matter of is he going to have an interception? It's at what key critical moment of the game does it happen and does it affect the outcome at all? So the only caveat I have to back the Bills is that Dallas is 0-2 against winning teams. The only 2 that they have played was San Francisco and Philadelphia.
They
And that
are,
would read them.
and then they are 3-3 straight up and against the spread on the road. Again, much better team at home here. I like the Bills early in the week. I do like a contest that you have to have your plays in on Monday, and I sent them Buffalo, but now I'm kind of taking a couple steps back, saying maybe I don't like the Bills as much as I originally thought. Once you kind of break things down, going throughout the week, so I like the Bills -2.5, and I like the Cowboys in a teaser. Let's just call it Bills
Skip
by
it.
6.
We'll go ahead and skip that because I'm really unsure. So okay, let's see. Texans Titans. What side do you lean? First off, no explanation, just what side?
I I have no opinion on this game whatsoever, Pam.
What? Okay.
I know.
All right. I
Tennessee
lean to
off
the
a
Titans.
huge win. Tennessee's off a huge Monday night win. At 3 minutes left in the game, and somehow Miami allows them to score 14. I mean, that was just a crazy ending. How do you come back and keep a team like that? Is exciting, right? Like, this is not college kids. I agree, but somehow you've got to be able to keep Vrabel's got to keep these guys in the box and say, okay, guess what? We've got a big divisional opponent on deck. CJ Stroud, who we both love, right? But here's my question. I do not understand concussion protocol. How come some guys we know are playing already on Thursday and some guys we don't? Have they ruled CJ Stroud out?
I think it would be really, really out there if we do see Stroud play because the first
Okay.
time that he had the concussion, they put him in. It's already been in a couple of instances where, hey, we probably shouldn't have. Like, it would be really far fetched to see Stroud out there this week. So I'm
Okay.
handicapping this as if it's Davis Mills. And even then,
And I
that doesn't
agree.
matter to
And
me.
I agree that it probably is going to be, the guy who threw more interceptions than Josh Allen last year. But I just wanted to clarify because you would mention concussion protocol by other people. It just seems like there's a lot of up and downs. Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. I mean, this team is going to be very shorthanded in a divisional matchup, but I don't think I'm ready to lay points with Tennessee here.
Kelly, you're missing the entire handicap of this matchup. Texans Titans. It really comes down to one man. Derrick Henry. Come on, let's talk about it. He is a
Okay.
runaway dump truck. I mean, if you talk about his stats, 1,380 yards, 6 yards per carry, 12 touchdowns. That's not this season. That is against Houston. he he has his best performances, and I would know because anybody who follows me a couple seasons ago when I had that absolute monstrous 150 to 1 prop parlay, it was Keen Henry against a Houston defense that he needed 200 plus yards to hit his 2,000 rushing mark.
And he
He is
did.
in rhythm. He has scored two touchdowns in each of his last 3 games. You can talk about Will Levis and can he duplicate the type of comeback that he had last week and was he really good and he's coming off his best game. I don't care who's behind center for either team. This is Derrick Henry against the Houston Texans.
All right, we can pencil it in.
We will pencil it in. And then we can talk about how bad of a defense Houston is to give up 300 passing yards to Zach Wilson. That absolutely. Can Will Levis replicate last week? Yes, he can. All right. We will pencil that in as an option. And Vikings Bengals, we already talked about that. Opinion, give me your side. Falcons Panthers.
You're picking like the most garbage games.
I'm going down
Pam,
the
did you
list.
know
I'm
you could
going
go to
down the
this game
list.
for $10? Did you know you could go to this game for $10?
$10. Can't even
$10.
buy like a Gatorade with $10.
Brett is in Georgia right now visiting one of his buddies, and he's like, "We're talking about going to the game," and he pulled up. It's $10. Now, granted, those are nosebleed seats, but like that should tell you what a garbage game this is, and how terrible the NFC South is. Look, the Carolina Panthers are not a good football program. That's obvious. Bryce Young,
Kelly, we don't need to
not a
hear
good.
that.
No,
What side do you? What we're trying to find out right now is what side are you on?
I am not watching this game. That's the side that I'm on. I have
We're
no
trying to find
opinion
games that
here.
we match up
If
on.
Atlanta
No
if
opinion.
Atlanta doesn't boat race Carolina, I don't know what to tell them, but Atlanta was not good last weekend as a small favorite at home, which we had spoken about how they were a good play on team at home. I don't
At
trust either
home.
one of these teams.
All right, scratch it then. That's all I need to know. So your opinion then, give me a side. Bears Browns.
I love the Bears last week, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Cleveland's defense isn't going to make their life a living hell this week. But I want to like the Bears. I will say that. If you've got some reasons for me to like the
I
Bears,
want to like the
um, I mean, look, Justin Fields, he got it done for me. I had the over rushing yards prop. I was very happy with him after I thought it was dead in the water. So, look, I do think that there becomes a point in time where Cleveland's getting a little too big for their britches, right? They're getting a lot of
Mhm,
love in the marketplace. And I
mhm.
don't know if I fully trust the Bears just yet, but Bears plus 3.5 was on my long list, and I ultimately did not follow up with them. How about that?
I also like the Bears. Reasons to like them. This defense, I believe it certainly
Correct.
has changed a corner. I was a little bit less convincing last week, but I think it was just threw me off because they were going up against my Lions. And I love my Lions and the Bears, and it was too much for my brain to compute. So I couldn't see that game clearly. But this week I feel like I do. And the Chicago defense, yes, I believe that they have turned a corner since week 9 after they acquired Montez Sweat. They really have just like leveled up. 4 sacks in the last 3 games. He has 1 sack behind Yannick Ngakoue, who has played 13 games. Like, this is already just a significant playmaker on that defense. His presence alone has made a difference. Overall, though, the Bears defense, 6 in EPA per play compared to 30th when they didn't have him, 11 sacks total compared to 10 in the first 8. That was the least. They have forced a turnover at the second highest rate ever since acquiring Montez Sweat. That's just on defense. I really do believe that the Chicago offense is as legitimate as they can get because Justin Fields, his robust rushing ability, my God, it has just been such a true difference maker for this Bears offense. 3 straight games with double-digit rushing attempts. I wanna look at his Fields over rushing prop again. You said you were on that last week. Anytime touchdown. And because why I think the Bears can have success is because the Browns are so aggressive on that defense. If you don't come away with that sack, then quarterbacks have 5 total rushing scores against Cleveland. They play man coverage at the 3rd highest rate, and Fields has the 2nd highest scramble rate against man. He's going to run the ball. And when he does, we have seen him put up 100 plus rushing yards. Because of that production, it's opened up the passing game. That connection that he has with Moore, it is there and legitimate. Now I know that the Browns have a really solid secondary, but it has also shown vulnerabilities throughout the season.
I could be
Maybe that's
talking
not
to the
enough.
Bears. I mean, no, I mean, I think we could pencil them in. I think I would rather have the Bears than the Titans. That's just me. Um, just early on. Let's go on to 2 games that I agreed with, and then can confirm that Sharp Money also agreed,
Okay.
for what that's worth. And also as a Broncos fan, I can tell you that the reason why I'm not going to this game is because they're going to lose.
Okay.
So
I love
when
that.
this schedule came out, Johnny and Bobby, 2 Lions fans I work with at WagerTalk, both said, "Hey, Cal, it's December. You want to come to Detroit?" And I said, "Let's see how things go." And after they were 1-5, I'm like, I am not coming to Detroit in the cold to watch this team get boat raced. Well, since then, the Broncos have been playing a lot better. You and I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. And in terms of last week, what we thought would be from a defensive side of things, in fairness, Justin Herbert got hurt in that game. And now we saw Stick playing. So it's kind of, I think, a little bit of an asterisk right there. But I will say this. I think this is a very buy low spot on a Lions team who's going back inside the dome with Jared Goff, where he feels
Mhm.
more comfortable. This team is very frustrating. And that was why I wanted to back the Bears last weekend, because this Lions team, you take them out of their element and all of a sudden it's kind of chaotic for them. They don't do very well. Well, the Broncos on the flip side, 3rd straight road game. Like whoever
Yep.
decided that
On short
they
rest
should have yeah. So they're Houston, LA, now Detroit. Not a
on
great spot for
Saturday.
this team. I know this one's been bet up already. And I think you can kind of see some situational handicappers like almost have the Lions as an auto play, right? Whenever you have a team who wins as an outright underdog and then is an underdog the next week is kind of
Mhm.
like one of those spots where they would just situationally blindly fade. I am not one of those. That is not what I'm doing here. But again, I think that this is a Broncos team that has shown some prowess, if you will. And I appreciate that as a fan, but Detroit needs a bounce back here in a very, very big way.
Well, I agree. So you're saying you like Lions -4. I as well. Now let's talk a little bit of the football as to why. I've been writing the Broncos right at the flip, right when they flipped their season around. So I believe that I have like a good sense of this team. You can talk about the 3rd straight road game on short rest. They play Saturday, but the football side of it is that the Denver defense, as improved as they have been, we have seen them absolutely demolish the opposing quarterbacks that they have faced. The league low 7 passing touchdowns in the last 9 weeks. They have been stopping quarterbacks. This is true. But if you look at their schedule and the games that they are winning, what do all of those opponents have in common? They don't have a run game. And at least with the Detroit offense, what we have seen from Jared Goff in a dome, you can talk about that. That's where his like wheelhouse is. You can stop turning the ball over because this could potentially be a huge game. Get back to you what your identity is. And that is a 1-2 punch with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. Gibbs out of the backfield between the tackles, working the rookie tight end in Sam Laporta, shorten those passing plays that you have, limit those turnovers. All of that is going to take the pressure off of Jared Goff, who's now playing at home in his comfort zone. I really like this, yes, from a situational spot, but also that you don't need to have Goff sling the ball 100 times. You can just hand it off to Gibbs and Montgomery, and that alone can really take off a lot of the pressure and apply the pressure onto a Denver defense that has been good against opposing quarterbacks when passing a lot more vulnerability against the run. You want to plug this into the card and not just a pencil?
Yes, I like the Lions. Probably the most of the other three that we've talked about so far. And then the other one I wanted to talk about before we go through all the rest of these ugly games that I'm just going to go, no, Pam, I didn't play that. No, Pam, I don't like that. Oh, this one's gross. This one's gross. I will admit that. But again, another play against, well, maybe a team that's getting a little too big for their britches, and that's the New York Giants. I understand laying 6 with this Saints team is rather disgusting. But I do think I've got to step in front of the Tommy DeVito freight train. I just have to do it after his weird start, right? And then all of a sudden, coming out Monday night, he just look at the guy's like a maestro. He just orchestrated a incredible fourth quarter win over Green Bay. I feel for everybody who had Green Bay in Survivor. I don't blame them for using Green Bay there, but mother of God, that was painful, but not as painful as the poor sap that had saved the Dolphins as 14-point favorites. That had to have been disgusting. That being said, I do like this Saints team at home in the dome. I just wonder if we didn't miss the good number here. I'm not saying 4-6 is some huge jump, but I will say this: sometimes when you miss the good number, it's just best to pass, and this may be the case here.
I like the Giants. And
Yep, I
as
figured
much
you
as it
did.
is about, like, Tommy DeVito, and it really doesn't even have that much to do with, all of the shenanigans that are happening, but I talked about it last week, which is why I like them, is DeVito at least gives this offense a floor. Like, it is a base floor of what we're gonna get, and now you have a whole bunch of upside. In his 4 starts, he has 7th in completion percentage, 16th YPA. More importantly, he has only 1 interception. Not turning the ball over is so important. What I've really liked about DeVito is his mobility has been such a huge playmaker. I love a quarterback that can move outside of the pocket and make plays downfield where they need be because a man opens up or because he himself can scramble down to move the chains. He has that ability and consistent, but at least he's shown that he is highly capable. 2 games of his 4, 41 rushing yards, 71 rushing yards, and this time he can have similar success. He's going to need to run because New Orleans defense, they're 2nd in completion percentage, but they struggle against the run. This is a huge game for both DeVito on the ground. I'd be looking to his rushing prop, to his anytime touchdown, and utilize the heck out of Saquon Barkley. His big play ability is still making such a difference with this offense. He is 6th in the NFL for the most explosive runs. That is going to come into fruition, utilize more right out of the gate, and use that burstability because New Orleans has allowed the 7th most rushing yards per play. Because he can line up anywhere on the field, he's a dynamic player. DeVito showing that he's a dynamic player. And I really like the over in this as well. 37 is way too low for 2 offenses that, hey, maybe get Derek Carr. He is capable himself. Because I like the over on this, I'm also leaning, I like the Giants as well, because this is going to be like a score for score type of game. And the Saints, 1-5 against the spread at home. So we're not going to
I said
agree on that
they're
one.
not a beautiful team to want to back, especially at 6. We can pass on that one. Any desire, because we would need to get it in here pretty shortly to take the Thursday night game.
What was the Thursday one? Oh no, I haven't even looked at that. We don't do Thursday, so I didn't even look at that one.
Good. Don't look
I
at
don't
it
even
because
know
it
who's
is going to
playing.
be hot garbage. Chargers Raiders. So we don't even have to talk about
Uh,
it. Lots of field goals are going to be kicked. Let's say that much. That's really all I got on my list, Pam. Unfortunately, we
all
cannot
right.
play first halves. Otherwise, I would be all over the Ravens first half as my best bet again this week. But I do not have much left on my list.
Well, okay, so then we'll stick with that. Ravens Jaguars full game. What's your opinion?
I can't trust the Ravens to complete a full football game and not stress me out in overtime. No Mark
All right.
Andrews,
Well,
obviously, is
we're just
never good
touching
for this
right now.
team.
We're just touching up on. Let's right now just touch up on what do we agree on. So if you like the Jags, that's one that we agree on. I agree on that as well. Bucks
Okay, that's
Packers.
what I was
Do
getting
you
ready to
agree
say.
on that?
I don't think I like the Jags though because they're not good at home. They're 2-4 at home this year. That's straight up and against the spread. I don't trust this team and I don't think Trevor Lawrence is healthy. So next game.
So scrap that. So Bucks Packers.
Okay, we talked about how I gave out some games on Monday night. Initially, early in the week, I really liked the Packers, right? I thought, okay, here is a good bounce back spot off an ugly Monday night loss. Let's see what Jordan Love is going to be made of. And now I'm starting to realize I really hate this play. Matt LaFleur, great December coach. I can say that much.
Uh-huh.
But that was with Aaron Rodgers, who we
I was
know is
gonna
a
say,
great
how much
December
is Aaron
quarterback.
Rodgers?
Yes. So here's my problem. The Bucks
Okay.
defense is finally. I was bitching about this Bucks defense, I think in person. I think it was against the Eagles. They got 2 interceptions. I said, "Come on, what is this team doing?" It was so frustrating. But you know what they can do? They can stop the run. I think that makes the
Mhm.
Packers a little bit more one-dimensional, and that concerns me. And it's going to be
Yes.
cold. It is going to be cold in Green Bay this weekend. Real cold. I'm not saying that
Mhm.
Tampa Bay is not capable of playing in the cold. That is the one thing that you want to keep an eye on, though. Sometimes these warm weather teams, as I mentioned, like Dallas going to Buffalo, it can affect them.
Okay, so you like the Bucks or the Packers?
I gave out the Packers on Monday, and now I no longer
Got it.
really like the Packers as much as I did. That was
Okay.
purely a what I would consider a bounce back play. I thought it would be a buy low spot here. I I will say this: the Giants' defense really was a big test for Jordan Love, and I don't think he failed it. How about that? That's the
Right.
asterisk. I
Right.
don't think he
Okay.
personally failed it. I think the Giants were
Right.
just the better team on the field that night. I do think that the Packers will be the better team on the field on Sunday, but currently, I don't think I want to lay 3.5 with this team.
I like the Bucks. Um,
Okay.
the Tampa Bay offense, what we're starting to see from them is development in that run game. That's something that they have not had prior. In the last 3 games, they've had the best rushing output they've had of the season, averaging 4 yards per carry. Prior, they were averaging 3. So there's been an output. Their offensive line is starting to gel together. Last week against Atlanta, Mike Evans was stopped in his tracks. And that's okay because you know what? Wide receiver 2, Chris Godwin, he stepped up and he became somebody that Baker Mayfield trusts in key situational moments. We saw it on a 3rd and 10 on the game-winning drive. So even if the Packers defense does bottle up Evans, Godwin is there to step in. Green Bay defense, having that run game now for Tampa, at least a little bit more, can come into play for this matchup because Green Bay's defense is 31st against the run. It's the same MO for the Packers. They suck against the run every single season. And last week against the Giants, they gave up 209 rushing yards. With now they were without their linebacker in Quay Walker. He's going to be out again. He's their lead tackler. That's a reason why the Giants had so much success on the ground. Potentially, the Bucks could find similar success. You mentioned Tampa Bay's defense. They're starting to return some of that production. They got their defensive tackle Levante David back. He missed the first 2. He missed the last 2 games. He was a notable return. He held Atlanta because of him. His return. This defense held Atlanta's rushing offense. We know they like to run to 100 under 100 yards. Cornerback Jay Dean, linebacker Devin White. Those 2 players are coming back after missing the last 2 games. This is an offense. This is a team that's getting better, getting healthier. Offensive line improvements, starting to use a run game. Baker Mayfield's capable. I like the Bucks. Okay, but because you gave out Packers,
Yeah, and I really I
the
do still lean towards the Packers here. I really just can't trust this Bucks team overall. Again, they did get a nice win over Atlanta. Uh, I still think there's some issues there with that team. But it's crazy because I'm looking through everything else and I'm going, I I don't trust the
you love to
Commanders.
fade the Eagles. Are you not fading the Eagles again?
It's not that I love to fade the Eagles, but have you watched Seattle? God, this team is just so ugh. Plus, Geno Smith
Well,
still
look at who's
not
okay.
fully healthy.
Eileen, I like the Seattle side here, but you're talking about look at this team. Who have they faced? The Rams, the 49ers twice, Dallas, plus the Cleveland defense, and Baltimore. It has been
That's
one
fair.
heck of a
That's
schedule
very
for them.
true.
And so their
And
strength of
it's
schedule
do or
alone.
die time for them if they want to make the playoffs. It's right now. It's do or die time for this team. I just wish Geno Smith I could get like a green light that his groin
Does
injury
it
is
even
good.
matter if it's Geno Smith or Drew Lock?
I you just
We've
have to
seen so
understand
much of Drew Lock.
I saw enough of him in Denver. I don't need to see any more. How about that? That's my problem with Drew Lock here. The Eagles defense also have allowed a ton of points in 5 of their last 6 games. I have not been impressed with them. I would love to take the primetime home dog on Monday night in Seattle with the trappy line of 3.5 all day.
It's 4 in the contest, first off,
Okay, that
and
helps.
what I like, you mentioned I've seen plenty of Drew Lock in Denver. Okay. Did Denver have DK Metcalf?
No. But they
Exactly.
had Jerry
You
Judy, and they also had Cortland
they're
Sutton, and
not
they
in the
also
same category.
I didn't say they are, but you know what? They're very capable receivers that Russell Wilson can utilize.
Mhm. Well, what
That's
I
all I'm
do
saying,
like
like,
about DK.
not every team needs a DK Metcalf or a Tyreek Hill to succeed.
Right. Okay, so if you can't agree, I love, the
It's
Seahawks.
not that I
Ooh,
can't agree. If you love the
okay.
Seahawks, we can plug them in because I like the Seahawks better than the Titans, that's for sure. So right now we have Pats, we have Bengals,
Okay,
we
we'll
have
pass. Let's just
Lions.
let's just pass. Washington Rams. Oh, how about this? How about this? Tell me this is not just like the most obvious play. You're also a really good like situational better, right? Oh, buy low spot. Tell me this is not the perfect buy low spot on the Arizona Cardinals that nobody in the planet would freaking want because the
Yeah, of
49ers look
course.
absolutely demolishing in every game
And
that
they
they have.
play Baltimore on deck. Yeah, I know. I'm very
So,
aware.
tell me that is not the most, like, obvious situational spot because let's, like, do a little mini recap on what's happened with San Francisco. All of a sudden, they're getting all nice and healthy, they look really great. After Turkey Day, they put a stomping against Seattle, and then what happened afterward? They're first in every defensive category, first in every offensive category, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is shouting through the rooftops MVP. This is as high of a buy low, sell high spot as you could get.
Yeah, Arizona coming off a bye.
And what I like about Arizona is this is kind of reminiscent. I could be crazy, but it's kind of reminiscent of Dallas when they played Dallas in week 3. Dallas what scored like a million points and everyone was like, "Oh my god, the Dallas Cowboys are freaking amazing." And then Arizona just all of a sudden had their best game of the season. They forced an interception. They held Tony Pollard to like, well, I mean, they were gashed against the run, but I mean, it was still like their best production as far as pressure rate, sack percentage. That was with Josh Dobbs, and now you're getting a more mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray. James Conner is also back in the mix after being out a few games. Like he's been pretty serviceable coming off his best game, 105 rushing yards, he had 2 scores coming off a bye. Um, is that enticing to you?
I would take the Cardinals probably before most of the other garbage games we've talked about, at least from a situational perspective. Yes. That was the last one that I saw. I was like, all right, I kind of waved this game off, but let's see what Pam has to say. At least we agree,
In
whether
San
that's a good thing or a
Francisco,
bad thing.
double-digit favorites. They've only been double-digit favorites 3 times. They're 3-0 straight up. I'm not saying they're gonna lose here, but they're 0-3 against the spread.
Makes
That's a
sense to
very big
me.
ask on the road, facing a team off a bye. Baltimore on deck. We're plugging that in. All right, that gives us 4
Okay.
games then. You don't like the
We have
Titans.
the
Do you like the
Cardinals,
Bears?
we have the Lions, we have the Bengals, we have the Pats.
And then what's our 5th one? You don't rather instead of taking the Titans, you said you
I like
keep
the Bears
referencing
here.
the 2. We'll do the Bears. Any other game? Chiefs, Pats, just to run through. Washington, Rams. I don't know. It's
God,
kind of a toss up for
God
me.
almighty. I do not trust Ron Rivera. I do not trust the Commanders. This team has been the most infuriating team all season long. I don't understand them. And look, Commanders are off a late season bye, which is probably something they really needed. We've seen some okay moments from Sam Howell, right? Okay
Mhm.
at best. Look, the Rams have been doing quite a bit lately, and even though with the injuries piling up, it doesn't matter. They've still been winning football games. Last week's game, I think, probably took a lot out of the Rams, but I don't think I could back the Commanders here, even off a bye.
And okay, those are the only 2 games that I feel strongly about. Then would be like the Seahawks +4 to the Eagles, and if you don't like that, then the Bears +3 to the Browns.
Which do you like better, Bears or Seahawks?
Shit. Um, honestly, I think that the Eagles have more vulnerabilities to attack. Their defense,
Okay.
even against Sam Howell, the Philadelphia is allowing multiple passing touchdowns in the last 6 games. I know that Drew Lock is not Dak Prescott, Mahomes, Allen, or Purdy. Well, I mean, Mahomes kind of stinks this season. We've talked about that. So is that even threatening? he is a capable passer and he has capable supporting cast. That's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on here. I'm going to expect volume. What I like about Philadelphia's defense when it comes to exploiting that is they are dead last in third down conversion rate. Literally every single person on the planet is getting down, extending the chains, holding onto that ball for that extra third down. That's going to really
I
that
guess
can help Seattle
my
here.
big thing and why I like fading the Eagles is fading that Eagles secondary, right? That's why it worked for me
Right.
with the Niners. That's why it worked for me with the Cowboys. My concern
Well,
is that I don't know if either quarterback for Seattle can exploit that secondary. Um, Even more so with Drew Lock, who has been very turnover prone in the past.
so I also like this. I love that you said that because I like that you can exploit the secondary. Yes, and it's going to be DK Metcalf that does so. The Eagles are 30th in receptions. This is a great matchup for Metcalf because he is going up against a cornerback who is 26 in yards allowed to outside receivers. Not cornerback. He's going up against a secondary that is 26 in yards allowed to outside receivers. 28th in touchdown rate allowed to such. Is he capable? Yes, he is. Because against a Dallas defense who is a far more stout, 6 receptions, 134 yards, 3 scores. This is going to really test Philadelphia's already vulnerable secondary. Darius Slay, James Bradbury. If you can attack those two cornerbacks early and often, I guarantee Metcalf is going to come out the victor in that matchup. This is
Well,
literally
let's
a
hope
Metcalf game.
DK's got his like sign language ready to go after he smokes their asses. I think that's my
I don't
favorite thing,
know.
by the way. That I love that he does that. Like it's like the ultimate shit talking. Like, yo, bro, I learned how to do sign language just so I can talk shit to you without getting fined. I love it.
I love
Okay,
that. I love
so
that. He's
plug it in
thinking
Seattle.
outside the box.
I love
He is
him. I do.
And yeah, okay, I don't know why I can't get on my Bears. Like I talk about how much Justin Fields is great and the defense is improved. I like both of them. So you choose Seahawks or Bears.
Pats, Bengals, Lions, Cardinals, Seahawks.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do it. All right. So then those are our 5 against the spread contest picks. We kind of didn't disagree. So that's kind of weird. We'll see how that turns out. Patriots +8 to the Chiefs. Bengals -3 to the Vikings. Lions -4 to the Broncos. Cardinals +12.5 to the 49ers. Seahawks +4 to the Eagles. Those are our 5 against the spread contest picks. Do make sure to follow Kelly on X at Kelly in Vegas. You can follow me on X at Pamela M35. And of course, follow WagerTalk for all of their stuff on YouTube and both X. And that does it for another episode. Stack of Stats.